Meles Zenawi, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, was born in May 1955, in the town of Adwa, in northern Ethiopia. After completing high school in 1972 in Addis Ababa, he joined the medical faculty of Addis Ababa University, where he studied for 2 years. Further on in his academic career, Zenawi received an MA in Business Administration from the Open University of the United Kingdom in 1995 and an MS in Economics from the Erasmus University in the Netherlands in 2004. In 1974, he interrupted his studies to join the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, a political party. Zenawi was elected to the leadership committee of the party in 1979 and to its executive committee in 1983. Since 1989, he has been chairman of both the TPLF and the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF, a political alliance of the four main political organizations in the country. Upon defeat of the military junta, Zenawi became president of the Transitional Government of Ethiopia and chairman of the Council of Representatives, the legislative body of the transitional government, from 1991 to 1995. He was elected Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia in 1995 and was re-elected for a second term in 2000. He extended his 19-year rule in the recent May 2010 election. Meles Zenawi served as chairman of the Organization of the African Union from June 1995 until June 1996 and is currently serving as co-chairperson of the Global Coalition for Africa, where he has been active in the efforts of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development in Eastern Africa, IGAD, to end the conflicts in Sudan and Somalia, as well as African initiatives to seek a solution to the crises in Burundi. In 2004, he was appointed by UK Prime Minister Tony Blair as one of the commissioners for the Commission for Africa, also known as the Blair Commission for Africa, an initiative established by the British government to examine and provide impetus for development in Africa. Prime Minister Zenawi was chairing both the NEPAD Heads of State and Government Implementation Committee and the African Peer Review Forum. In July 2009, he was mandated to speak on behalf of Africa on climate change matters and to coordinate the Conference of African Heads of State and Government on Climate Change, CAHC. In this capacity, he has led Africa's negotiating team to the World Summit on Climate Change, held in Copenhagen in December 2009. His mandate was extended by the 14th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government to lead the CAHC in the global climate change negotiations for the next two conferences in Mexico and South Africa this year and in 2011. Meles Zenawi Ashras, born Leach Zenawi Ashras, May 9, 1955 to August 20, 2012, was an Ethiopian soldier and politician who served as President of Ethiopia from 1991 to 1995 and then Prime Minister of Ethiopia from 1995 until his death in 2012. Born in Adwa to an Ethiopian father and an Eritrean mother, Meles became actively involved in politics after changing his original first name from Leach to Meles, adopted following the execution of fellow university student Meles Takeley by the Derg government in 1975. Shortly that year, he left Haile Selassie University to join the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, and fight against the Derg, the Mengistu Haile Mariam-led military dictatorship in Ethiopia. In 1989, he became the chairman of the TPLF, and the head of the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF, after its formation in 1988. After leading the EPRDF to victory in the Ethiopian Civil War, he served as president of the Transitional Government of Ethiopia from 1991 to 1995, then as the second Prime Minister of Ethiopia from 1995 to his death in 2012. Meles Zenawi's administration brought Ethiopia to ethnic federalism. He expressed his populist view that ethnic groups should share their own languages, culture, and lands. An Eritrean referendum was held during his 4-year presidency, which resulted in Eritrean secession from Ethiopia in 1993, but the two countries entered into a war owing to the territorial dispute from 1998 to 2000, during which 98,217 people were killed. In the 2005 general election, Melis's party EPRDF won and he remained as prime minister, while opposition parties strongly complained that the election was stolen and unfair. Shortly during and after the election, disastrous riots and protests sparked across Addis Ababa, in which 193 people were killed by police brutality. During his tenure, Ethiopia became one of Africa's fastest-growing economies. Meles undertook major reforms to the country, including land reforms attempt to reduce serious droughts, school expansions, and agricultural interests. He died in Brussels on August 20, 2012 from an undisclosed illness. Some analysts claim that he died from catecholamine. Zenawism refers to his principles and policies of ethnic federalism, especially those the TPLF advocated, and is the subject of academic study. Meles was born in Adwa in northern Ethiopia, to Zenawi Ashras, a Tigrayan from Adwa, and Alamash Gebrelul, an Eritrean from Adi Kwala. He was the third of 6 children. His first name at birth was Lichs, thus Lichs Zenawi. He eventually became better known by his nom de guerre Meles, which he adopted in honor of university student and fellow Tigrayan Meles Tekel, who was executed by the Derg government in 1975. He received primary education at Queen of Sheba Junior High School in Adwa. Because he started school at age 11 or 12, it took him 5 years to complete the regular 8-year program, as he was able to skip grades. He then joined the prestigious General Wingate High School in Addis Ababa on full scholarship and completed high school in 1972. Upon graduating with honors from General Wingate, he was awarded the Haile Selassie I Prize, a selective award given only to the most outstanding students. In 1975, Meles left the university to join the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Meles Zenawi was an Ethiopian Orthodox Christian. Meles stated that EPRDF's victory was a triumph for the thousands of TPLF fighters who were killed, for the millions of Ethiopians who were victims of the country's biggest famine during the Derg regime, when some estimates put up to 1.5 million deaths of Ethiopians from famine and the Red Terror. Accordingly, he maintained that the big support it received from peasants and rural areas helped EPRDF maintain peace and stability. Foreign support was diverse. The Arab League, as well as Western nations, supported the EPRDF rebels against the communist Soviet-supported government, although the TPLF was at the time Marxist, at the height of the Cold War. What the implications of this will be in terms of relations between Ethiopia and the European Union, we will have to wait and see, but I don't think you will be surprised if Ethiopia were to insist that it should not be patronized. The United States facilitated peace talks between different rebel groups including EPRDF and the Derg to bring an end to the civil war, which lasted for nearly 17 years and reach some kind of political settlement in 1991. The talks did not bear any fruit as EPRDF's force were moving to the capital and Mengistu fled the country. The United States agreed to support the EPRDF, which would have, nevertheless, seized power without anyone's support. Many angry demonstrators in Addis Ababa reacted to this by protesting against Herman Cohen, the U.S. State Department's chief of African Affairs, who attended a conference that demonstrators viewed as legitimizing the EPRDF. In July 1991, the Convention of Nationalities was held. It was the first Ethiopian multinational convention where delegates of various nations and organizations were given fair and equal representation and observed by various international organizations including the United Nations, Organization for African Unity, European Economic Community, and the United States and the United Kingdom. Although Meles and his administration claimed they preferred a united but federal state that included the Eritrean state, since Meles' TPLF fought together with EPLF, Meles did not have a choice but to leave the decision to Eritrean leadership in the hope that the independence referendum would vote against secession, according to Time magazine's 1991 analysis. The Eritreans were given the choice for independence or to stay in the Union. They voted for independence on May 24, 1993. Isaias Afwerki became the leader of Eritrea. Meles was in Asmara, Eritrea as the keynote speaker. Many in the Meles administration, as well as opposition parties, were angry over the decision to grant Eritrea its independence. Despite working together against the Derg regime, Meles and Isaiah's positive relationship turned sour after Meles succumbed to U.S. pressure to hold an election within a year, but Afwerki abandoned his original promise to create a transitional government in the early 1990s. The Eritrean-Ethiopian War began in May 1998 following the Eritrean troops' invasion of Badme and parts of Sherero Wardas. Following the invasion, Ethiopia demanded that the Eritrean troops leave the invaded areas completely. However, the Eritrean government refused to pull out. Then the Ethiopians responded with huge counter-offensive measures which subsequently lead to the capture of the disputed Badme area and most parts of western Eritrea, and Ethiopian President Mengistu Haile gave a victory speech and a peace treaty was signed a few weeks later. According to the peace treaty, Ethiopia then pulled out of the Eritrean territory. Though Ethiopian troops controlled Badme, after the Algiers Agreement, 2000, ruled that Badme belonged to Eritrea, Ethiopia continued to maintain a presence of its soldiers in the town. A new constitution was approved in 1994, providing for a parliamentary system. The president served as ceremonial head of state, with the Prime Minister as head of government and chief executive. The EPRDF handily won the 1995 elections, and Meles was sworn in as Prime Minister when the new Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia was formally inaugurated on August 21, 1995. Meles was appointed as Prime Minister after the 1995 general election, and was chairman of the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Under his government, Meles encouraged privatization of government companies, farms, lands, and investments which reversed the previous Derg communist rule. Meles' government allowed freedom of religion formally in 1991. Previous issues including Orthodox Church dominance prior 1974, seizure of church by the Derg regime, state-sponsored persecution against non-Orthodox Christians, second-class citizenship accorded to Ethiopian Muslims, and land-owning issues by non-Orthodox population almost resolved. However, most analysis stated that there was sporadic clashes since equality and rights granted by national or new religions. Prior to federalism, both the Haile Selassie and Derg government limited media rights. During Meles' administration, however, politically inflicted media organization became decelerated, while entertainment surging in opposite. It was believed that FM radio stations were licensed under regional governments, community organizations, and private companies. The government licensed 7 regional state television transmission agencies, but there are not private broadcasters in the country. In 2000 general election, Meles re-elected as Prime Minister, with opposition parties like United Ethiopian Democratic Forces, UEDF, shared parliament seats. According to Ethiopian Human Rights Council, local UN staff, diplomatic missions, political parties, domestic non-governmental organizations, both general and regional elections were free and fair in most areas. However, there was misconduct in the southern nations, nationalities, and peoples region, particularly in the Hadiyah zone. The EPRDF faced an unprecedented challenge from opposition groups like the Coalition for Unity and Democracy, CUD, UEDF, and the Oromo Federalist Democratic Movement in the 2005 election. It was one of the most controversial elections in Ethiopian history, and the opposition accused the EPRDF of electoral fraud. Demonstrations broke out in Addis Ababa and protesters were massacred by government forces. 763 people were killed and over 10,000 were imprisoned. In spite of the 2005 Ethiopian general election violence, the administrator of USAID recognized an EPRDF electoral victory and accused European Union election observers who were critical of the outcome of doing a bad job and of favoring opposition groups. The TPLF administration strongly regards gender equality. Meles' wife and First Lady Azabe Mesfin was forefront advocator in women rights. Meles' government encouraged all-encompassing women participations, organized forums to discuss backward issues in national television. Discussions include concerning tangential issues, HIV transmission, premature marriage, job opportunities, and more. Various organizations emerged, for example the Ethiopian Women's Lawyers Association, EWLA, Kambati Mentigat Simatope and Network of Ethiopian Women's Associations. In July 2012, questions arose concerning Meli's health when he did not attend African Union summit meetings in Addis Ababa. Opposition groups claimed that Meles may have already died on July 16 while undergoing treatment in Belgium. However, Deputy Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn attributed Meli's absence to a minor illness. A press conference, during which the government planned to clarify Meli's health status, was scheduled for July 18 but postponed until later in the week. While the government acknowledged that Meles had been hospitalized, it stated that his condition was not serious. There were further rumors of his death when he was not seen in public after the 2012 G20 summit and at the time of the death of the head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, Abun Paulos. On August 20, Meles Zenawi died after contracting an infection in Belgium. Minister of Information Barakit Simon announced on state television, "It's a sad day for Ethiopia. The man who led our country for the past 21 years and brought economic and democratic changes, has died. We have lost our respected leader. Meles has been receiving treatment abroad. He was getting better and we were expecting him to return to Addis Ababa. But he developed a sudden infection and died around 11:40 p.m. last night. His body will be returned to Ethiopia soon. We have set up a committee to organize his funeral. More information will be released about that soon." As per Ethiopian law, Haile Mariam Desalegn has now taken over the leadership. He will also be in charge of the Ethiopian military and all other government institutions. "I would like to stress, nothing in Ethiopia will change. The government will continue. Our policies and institutions will continue. Nothing will change in Ethiopia. Desalegn will be confirmed by Parliament." After his body was repatriated 2 days later, thousands of mourners congregated on streets from the airport to Meles' former residence to pay their last respects as his coffin, draped in the flag of Ethiopia, was accompanied by a military band. The event was attended by political, military, and religious leaders, as well as diplomats and his wife, Azabe Mesfin. The body lie in state. A declaration of national mourning was also issued. There were also fears of a power vacuum after his death, as well as a possible detriment to Eritrea-Ethiopian relations. Meles' funeral took place in Addis Ababa on September 2, 2012 in a religious ceremony attended by at least 20 African presidents and thousands of Ethiopians gathered in Meskel Square. Meles acquired an MBA from the Open University of the United Kingdom in 1995 and a Masters of Science in Economics from the Erasmus University of the Netherlands in 2004. In July 2002, he received an honorary doctoral degree in political science from the Hanam University in South Korea. Meles was married to Azabe Mesfin, a former rebel fighter in the TPLF and, as of 2013, a member of parliament. Meles was the father of 3 children, Semhel, Marda and Sene Meles. During Prime Minister Meles Zenawi's rule, Ethiopia prospered economically, with double-digit economic growth for his last 9 years. The high economic growth is continuing 7 years after his death, since his party Tigray People's Liberation Front and EPRDF continued to work with the same policies. Ethiopia even became the fastest-growing economy in Africa. Prime Minister Meles received various international awards for setting up a good foundation for the development of Ethiopia. Even though Ethiopia remains one of the poorest countries in the world, the near double-digit annual economic growth rate recently is seen as the beginning of Ethiopia's long marathon struggle to eliminate poverty. Acknowledging the rapid GDP growth of the country, the UK newspaper The Economist said in December 2007 that Ethiopia's economy has been growing at record speed in recent years. In 2008, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, described the speed of Ethiopia's economic growth in recent years as the fastest for a non-oil exporting country in sub-Saharan Africa, with Ethiopia ranked as the second most attractive African country for investors. Prime Minister Meles was awarded the Haile Selassie I Prize Trust, a highly selective award given only to the most outstanding graduating students. The Rwanda government awarded Meles Rwanda's National Liberation Medal, the URUD, in July 2009 for helping to liberate Rwanda and end the genocide in the country. Alongside two other African leaders, Meles was also given Rwanda's highest accolade, the Umurinzi Medal, Rwanda's Campaign Against Genocide Medal. PM Meles Zenawi was allegedly awarded the World Peace Prize for his contributions to global peace and his effort to stabilize the Horn of Africa through cooperation with Intergovernmental Authority for Development, IGAD. However, the World Peace Council strongly denied that they have awarded this prize to Meles Zenawi, saying WPC Press Bureau wishes to declare that no such award was given by our organization in the past or will be given. Tabor 100, an African-American entrepreneurs organization, honored PM Meles for his contribution toward economic and social transformation in Africa with its prestigious Crystal Eagle International Leadership Award in April 2005. Tabor 100, a U.S.-based non-governmental organization, calling Meles Zenawi International Leader of the Year 2005, also honored the efforts of the Ethiopian government in general for its war on poverty and backwardness. PM Meles was awarded the Good Governance Award of the Global Coalition for Africa for leading Ethiopia along a democratic path during the challenging period of transition. He was selected for the Good Governance Award by the US-based Corporate Council on Africa. PM Meles received the Norway-based 2005 Yara Prize for Green Revolution for initiating a good foundation for economic progress in Ethiopia, particularly in the agricultural sector, where the poor country has doubled its food production. During the award ceremony held in the Norwegian capital of Oslo on September 3, the director of the UN Project for Africa said, "With our support, Ethiopia can lift itself from poverty and hunger." Under Prime Minister Meles, the country has created the grassroots structure to enable this to happen. Meles was given the Africa Political Leadership Award of 2008 by the US-based newspaper, Africa Times. Previous winners of the award include Desmond Tutu, Nelson Mandela, and others. Ethiopia's military honored Prime Minister Meles for his leadership during the 1998-2000 war with its northern neighbor when Eritrea invaded Ethiopia in 1998. Residents of the historic and ancient UNESCO town of Aksum in Ethiopia honored Prime Minister Meles for his political and diplomatic leadership role in the return and re-erection of the obelisk of Aksum after a 68-year stay in Rome, Italy. Meles received a Gold Order of Merit Award from the Confederation of African Football, CAF, in February 2007. PM Meles was given the CAF organization's highest award for his services in advancing the progress of African football. Ethiopia was one of the founding countries of the CAF, 1957, and the organization, with the dedication of leaders like Meles, was celebrating the International Year of African Football in 2007. Meles was a co-chairperson of the Global Coalition for Africa, GCA. The Global Coalition for Africa brings together senior African policymakers and their partners to deepen dialogue and build consensus on Africa's priority development issues. Prime Minister Meles served as the chairman of the Organization for African Unity, OAU, now the African Union, O, from June 1995 to June 1996. In 2007, the African Union elected Meles to chair the Executive Committee of the NEPAD, the New Partnership for Africa's Development. Meles was chosen to represent Africa at the G8 Summit and the G20 Summit in London. In February 2010, the UN named Ethiopian Prime Minister Meles as co-chair of the Advisory Group on Climate Change Financing, a new high-level UN advisory group on climate change financing. Several social, economic, religious, and political developments and systems were established for the first time in Ethiopia under Meles' rule. First regional referendum for peaceful secession, Eritrea, 1991. First multi-party national election for opposition, 2000, 2005, 2010. First institutionalized linguistic freedom at the local level, 1994. First ethnic-based federalism, since 1994. First private media outlets in Ethiopian history, since 1994. First consecutive double-digit GDP growth, International Monetary Fund, since 2006. First multi-party parliament with opposition MPs, since 2000. First unrestricted freedom of religion for evangelicals/Pentecostals, since 1994, a Pentecostal succeeded him in 2012. Meles was given the Green Revolution Award and a financial prize of $200,000 by the Norwegian Yara Foundation in September 2005 in recognition of past accomplishments and encouragement to achieve economic development for the people of Ethiopia. Meles donated his $200,000 financial award to a foundation called FRE Addis Ethiopia Women Fund, FRE Addis Ethiopia Yestik Merja Mahiber. The FRE Addis Ethiopia Women Fund has an objective to empower girls through providing educational opportunities, and it currently supports 514 needy and orphan rural girls to pursue their education throughout the country. Thank you for watching this video.